The best way to get your foot in the door in this climate is write them a short but well-crafted email that says something like this. Hi, my name is blah, blah, blah. I'm really interested in... Hey guys, my name's T. Antonio. I make professional and entrepreneurial videos on this channel. Hit the subscribe and like this video if you've gotten laid off. Not a great topic, but during the quarantine, this is what people are talking about, and I wanted to make a video about how to get back on your feet. How do you get back on your feet? How do you go out and go about getting a job, especially if you've been laid off and you were working for the past 10 years in the same role? You probably haven't done this in a while. So I wanted to come at you with some tactical approaches, some actual tips in this video. As someone who has moved around the job market recently, I wanted to make sure that I got all the advice I could out there. So the tips in this video are pretty tactical, things that you can apply and do right now. And it's also, I tried to make them pretty broad. I'm in the tech sector in San Francisco, so obviously my opinions and my thoughts and tactics are going to be painted by that. But I wanted to do my best to help everyone out as much as I can in the tough time that we're in right now. And so I tried to make these broad and approachable. This is Kuno, my cat, by the way. He's an absolute cutie. I tried to make these tips as broad as possible and usable by you all. By the way, I dressed up in my professional outfit today, as you can tell. Full quarantine mode with my sweater and pajamas. Getting laid off hurts. It's emotional. That hurt feeling that you may have, that's the appropriate feeling to have. That's natural and normal. Although that is 100% understandable, the unfortunate thing is that those feelings of hurt and pain and rejection don't help you get your next job. And they might even hurt you by preventing you through procrastination, lack of motivation, or confidence. What I'm asking you to do in this video is to accept that those hurt feelings are real and valid, but for the time being, we need to pull out your confidence, pull out the part of you that wants to brag and talk about your skills and your education and your talents. Toot your own horn. This is the time for you to be doing that, because love it or hate it, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's not the right saying for this particular video, but you get what I'm saying. The things we're going to talk about here are going to help you rise to the top. That was the saying I was looking for. The cream rises to the top. Although it may feel completely opposite of where you're at right now, bragging is the right thing to be thinking about doing. You're obviously going to be doing job hunting. My first tip is to stop disqualifying yourself. I know you're probably looking on LinkedIn and looking at jobs and seeing 100 people have already applied for this role, and you're thinking, oh, I gotta be 1 in 100 to get this role? No way. I'm just gonna skip it. I've gone through that same mindset myself in my application processes. I have a little mind game that I play to prevent myself from going down that self-disqualifying path, and I do it like this. I think, okay, if there's 100 people who've applied, let's just wipe out half of those people because they're just not qualified for the role. And then we'll wipe out half of the remaining people because maybe those folks say something wrong in the interview process or don't quite have the answers that they need or otherwise just sort of fall out. And then you're left with just 25 people you're competing with, and of those people, someone might get an offer somewhere else. Someone might find a different role within that same company. Someone else might decline an offer. There's all sorts of reasons why people don't get jobs. So in my mind, I've gone from competing with 100 people to competing maybe with a dozen. And although that is, just rough made up numbers, back of the napkin math at best, it helps motivate me to continue the pursuit of applying for new jobs. And again, I'm not trying to make this video full of cliches, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You need to be applying for as many roles as you can. Next tip is to, wow, it's loud outside today. Next tip is to stop entirely relying on one tool like LinkedIn Jobs. The fact of the matter is wherever you're finding it easiest to search for jobs, so is everyone else. And so the same roles at the same companies are getting served up to everyone who does these easy searches. You need to find ways to dive deeper into the search itself. So that might be instead of starting on page 1 of your search results, that might be starting on page 8 or 9 and see what companies are sort of down there in the search, but not really getting served up to the majority of people who do the search. Most people wouldn't pass the 3rd or 4th page. So if you're on page 8 going 8 to 15, who knows what's going to show up? Maybe you're going to end up seeing roles that are totally viable, totally great fits for you, but don't have the volume of eyeballs of everyone seeing the jobs on the first page. Any roles on that first page are just going to flat out have inflated applicant pools, especially now. I mean, you can still apply for them and use my first tip as the reason why, but go beyond that. The other thing you can do is look for companies who are hiring for roles of people you work closely with in your job. Let me give an example. I work on the business side of software APIs, but I often am interacting with product managers for APIs. So I would search for product managers at API companies. Even though they're not hiring for my role specifically, I'll take those search results and then I would just search those companies, go to their career pages, and individually look to see if they're also hiring for my role. There's a high likelihood if they're hiring product managers for APIs that they're also hiring business operations for APIs. So I'm likely to find roles that aren't getting served up in the search results, but are open. So you gotta dig a little bit more. Third tip is to take advantage of COVID-specific hiring lists. So I know a lot of recruiters, and a friend of mine who's a recruiter posted a link that is linked in the description of this video to a spreadsheet of companies who are currently hiring during COVID. During the quarantine, they are hiring. And this spreadsheet has the email addresses of the recruiters who are hiring. This is specific to the Bay Area. I have a tip about that on the next tip, so hold off about the Bay Area situation. But there's likely to be other recruiters more local to your area, maybe your closest city, who are also banding together to build lists of companies who are still hiring during the quarantine. Search through LinkedIn, check recruiter pages, see if you can find a local list like this. It's super helpful and it gives you a place to start. Tip number 4, expand your geography. The fact of the matter is, we're all working from home as I film this. And I was just on the phone this morning with the CEO of a pretty big tech company here, and he told me, before all of this, I really had a stigma towards remote work. And I didn't want to hire remote work because he, as he told me, thought that it kind of lended itself to being a little lazy. And now he's seeing his team, his entire company, sort of thriving in this remote scenario. I can imagine there are hundreds and hundreds of business owners who are now just realizing that remote work is not only possible, but it's actually kind of good for their business. Maybe they can even offload some of their expensive offices and transition towards remote. There is going to be a cultural shift towards remote work that is post-quarantine, and you can take advantage and capitalize on that right now. Expand your geography, expand your search. Don't bite me, stop it. Expand your search outside of your city and start searching. Like, for example, that list that I linked in the description, use that list, apply for jobs at those companies, and in the screening, mention you'd like to do this job remote if you're not in the Bay Area. So whatever jobs, whatever resources you can find for jobs, apply anyway, even if it's not in your area. The likelihood of you getting hired remote has just skyrocketed. Tip number 5 is to stand out. The fact of the matter is, a lot of people just got laid off over the past couple of months. More are likely to get laid off. A lot of small businesses are going to go under. It's going to be a tough time, and there's going to be a lot of people applying for these jobs. If you look at it from the recruiter and the hiring side, they're going to get encumbered with applications. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not a good fit just because you're one in a giant pile. You might be that fit, but also there might be like 20 fits in that pile. It's going to be extremely hard for the hiring managers to figure out who out of that 20 to actually hire. So this is where it comes in that you need to stand out and just be the easy answer. The best way that I've learned how to do that over the years to get your foot in the door in this climate is to apply like you normally would. You still gotta, get into the pile. And once you're in the pile, if you haven't heard back for a week or two, start guessing emails. It still works. Here's how you do it. You go on LinkedIn, you start trying to figure out, okay, who is either the recruiter for this role or the hiring manager for this role, most likely. You can message them on LinkedIn or connect with them on LinkedIn and add a message. Feel free to do it that way. Otherwise, I still prefer the bespoke email with a guest email address. You figure out who the right person to email is, essentially. Second thing you do is Google the email format of that company to figure out what the email format should be. Using their name, you can construct what is most likely the correct email address, and then pop that into your Gmail or your email client and write them a short but well-crafted email that says something like this. Hi, my name is blah, blah, blah. I'm interested in XYZ role because A, B, and C thing. Very excited to hear back. And then ask a question. Do not be pushy. So keep this email short, 3 to 6 medium-sized sentences, and with a final question that says something like, what type of person are you looking for this role? What time frame are you looking to fill the role in? Or what are the next steps? Any of those questions are great open-ended questions that invite them into the conversation without being pushy or desperate. Obviously be professional and end it with an inviting question. Let me tell you, that gets a response. Usually that gets a response. And now, if there's 20 qualified people in a stack of 100 that they just have paralysis by analysis, they can't analyze it all, you just made their job easier by saying, oh, I'm one of those 20, I might just be the one, why don't we talk? And you could always go crazy here and change careers. We're living in a time of serendipity. If you got laid off, talk to your old coworkers, talk to your old bosses, talk to your family members. You might just find yourself in a conversation that takes a weird turn and serendipity strikes, and suddenly there's an opportunity that was never even in your search or something on your radar at all. It's just a totally new, out of left field thing. Have you ever heard of someone saying, I used to do XYZ thing and now I'm in the waste management industry and things are going great actually? Who would have thought? Careers like that are built on times like this. Through serendipity, one conversation leads to an entirely new career. That's possible. Allow that to happen to you. If that is something that happens in your life, take it. So many people need jobs right now. Take what you can get. It might just lead to your next career. I hope at the very least these tips are encouraging for you to show that there is a possibility of getting a job out there. You have hope. It is going to work out in the end. Subscribe to the channel. If you found this useful, I will make more videos like this. I've got tons of tips. I literally couldn't fit them all in here, and I tried to just make this video very concise and broad for everyone. Let me know what questions you have for your specific scenario in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer specific questions if I can. With that, subscribe to the channel, like the video. Good luck.